In the small town of Heywood, located far away from the big cities, something sinister has always lingered. It was said that the neighborhood was haunted by a spirit seeking revenge, but no one could have imagined that the mysterious story associated with a serial killer would turn into a real nightmare. Emily Brown, a local journalist, has always been interested in the darker sides of human nature. She decided to write an article about the famous serial killer John Taylor, who took the lives of several girls in Heywood in 1998. His body was never found, but rumors of his return began to spread. One evening, while spending an evening in an old archive, Emily came across a mysterious letter written by Taylor's victim, Lisa. The letter stated that she had seen something horrific before her death, some kind of ritual that was being performed in the woods outside of town. Inspired, Emily sets out to find out what really happened. Emily met with locals who remembered John Taylor. They were afraid to talk about him, but one of them, an old man named Martin, told her about a ritual that was performed in the forest. It was said that groups gathered on the full moon to summon dark forces. Martin warned Emily, "Don't go where you shouldn't. He's still out there in the woods." A plunge into darkness. Despite the warnings, Emily couldn't stop. She gathered a group of daredevils, her friend David, his sister Sarah, and a co-worker, Jake. On the night of the full moon, they set out into the woods. Surrounded by darkness, they felt the air grow heavy and the trees seemed to whisper something to them. When they reached the place described in the letter, fear gripped them. In the center of the clearing stood an old stone altar surrounded by black candles and strange symbols. On the altar lay a doll made of twigs and herbs, with its eyes scorched out. Suddenly they heard a rustle and saw a figure standing in the shadows. It was him, John Taylor. The power of darkness. Taylor didn't speak, but his eyes glowed with hatred. Emily realized they were part of a ritual. She tried to run away, but the ground beneath her feet seemed to come alive, and a shadow grabbed her. David, trying to save her, was faced with horror. His own fears became reality, and he disappeared into the darkness. Sarah and Jake, gripped by panic, tried to find a way out, but the forest around them changed. The trees seemed to stir, and the whispers grew louder. They realized that they were victims of a ritual that had been performed not once, but over and over again, each sacrifice bringing a different power. Consequences. Emily, left alone, felt the forces of darkness engulf her. She realized that she could not escape from her fears. At that moment the thought occurred to her, "I have to tell the world what happened." In the last minutes of her life, she began recording her testimony on an old cell phone. When the full moon ended and morning came, Heywood woke up to terrible news. Several other people were missing. Emily never returned, but her notes were found. They were published, and the story of John Taylor came to life again, but now it became not just a story about a serial killer, but a warning that the darkness never sleeps, and that sometimes it's best to stay away from dark places and their secrets. Epilogue. The town of Heywood continues to live on, but the residents know that something sinister still roams the woods where rituals were once performed. Every full moon they hear whispers and feel a chill run down their spine. The mystery takes its victims and they remain forever in the shadows.